Hello, my name is Bruce Whitfield. This is Ecen424. This is homework 5, the board implementation. This is part 3, and this is the first tutorial that I'm going to try for the Base 3 abacus. So this is the code right here for the abacus, and basically you have if button 1 is enabled, then and the switches from 15 to 8 are off, while switches 7 to 0 on, then it does a 2 complement difference between 7 and 0. And if button U is enabled and switches 15 through 8 are on and switches 7 through 0 off, then it does the difference of 7 through 0 on the switches. If button D is enabled and switches 7 through 0 on while the 15 through 18 switches are off, it does the product of 15 and 0. And if button D is enabled and switches 15 through 8 are on while the 7 through 0 switches are off, then B is equal to 1. And if button R equals 1, then the output is the quotient of 7 to 0. And if button L is enabled, then B2 is the remainder of the 7 through 0 switches. And so let's go up to the top. Changes that were made were for button 1, I added if the switches from 7 to 0 are on, then the output is a 2 complement difference. And let's see, so if the switches for 7 through 0 are on, as you can see, and we're going to press button U. So you got 255, which is a 2 complement difference, the 2's complement difference between 7 and 0 right here. And then the now if you have these switches for 8 to 15, as you can see, 8 through 15, you press button U. Just like with here with the 15 through 18 switches on, it does the difference between 7 to 0, and as you see, the difference between 7 and 0 is 255. And then for when button D is enabled and switches 7 through 0 on, okay, button D, you see you have a 0. Now, if the button D right here, the product, if switches 7 through 0 on, the product of 15 through 0, 15 times 0, well, you would have 15, but the 0 switch would just be a 0, so that's why your product comes out to 0. And if button D is enabled but the 15 through 8 switches are enabled, then it's going to do the then it's just going to have the output be 1 and button D, and you see the output is 1. And then if button R is enabled, and the output is just a 1, and that is the quotient of 7 through 0. And if button L is enabled, then the output is a remainder of 7 switches 7 through 0. Button L is being enabled, and as you see, big old, it's got a 1, which would be the remainder for that. And that is going to conclude the abacus.